Okay, so we've got some great Disney World War II related art here to look at. Everything you're going to see is in this one pamphlet, the cover of which we're looking at right now. And you can see Donald down there at the bottom right, and he's throwing something. And as we slowly scroll up, you can read the words on the motion lines. And it's kind of a striking cover. You're like, what's going on here? Well, what you're looking at, it's not something that was made for sale. This was made by Disney and sent to its employees who were serving in the war. And this is the first issue. And by now you might start to recognize the target of Donald's aim here, right? So you got Adolf Hitler, this really interesting, highly stylized Hitler sharing a cover with Donald Duck. And inside you'd get kind of an encouragement, you'd get a check-in, be kind of reaching out to the employees and letting them know that the company's thinking about them, and also, encouraging the war effort. This was made in 1943. It's in great condition. And I don't know how many of these were made, but the curator was really excited because this one included a pinup, kind of this fold-out pinup that you could take out of the pamphlet, and those are extremely rare. We'll see that later in the video. So there's the big reveal. You've got Adolf Hitler getting a tomato thrown in his face by Donald Duck, and you can see the word dispatch on there, and that's what this was called. This was a dispatch, right? You're sending this message out to Disney employees and some others during the war. Hitler was, of course, the target of a lot of American cartoonists, well, not just American, but cartoonists, and it's an interesting piece of, the war propaganda front. The whole thing's got kind of a light-hearted, upbeat air, so it's very positive, and it really does seem like the kind of corporate pamphlets and communications that you get in a non-military setting. Here's the back of the pamphlet, and how great is this? These are insignias. They're created by often legendary Disney artists for the military forces. So you'd have, a specific unit adopt one of these, and then they could have them on their jackets or, maybe even on the side of planes, that kind of thing. That alone is a worthy study if you want to check out a book about it or just do some image searching on all the different kinds of insignias that were used in the war. These, of course, all have a common theme, which is that, it's Disney cartoons. So there you go. It doesn't look very fearsome, but they were, I think, welcome by the troops and worn as a badge of honor. So you can see Pluto there, for those of you who know who Pluto is, on the upper left, and, part of a minesweeper detail. So here was this part of, as the famous phrase goes, how the war was won. Here's one tiny little part of it. Some of the same people who made those classic Disney films in the 40s and around that time were creating these. And again, recognizable characters. There's Donald Duck again. Somewhere in the literature it said that he was kind of the main Disney force, cartoon-wise, World War II propaganda-wise. So he was all over the place. But you can see some others, some well-known and some lesser-known today. It's just a wonderful cultural artifact, really. It was pretty awesome to see it up close. So I love these insignias, so I'm going to just hit them up one by one. And in this shot, I managed to get the actual details so you can see the specific squadron that this was made for. Pluto here was attached to the U.S. Mine Division 19, which was part of the USS Howard. I don't recognize this character here, but he was attached to the 204th Coast Artillery out of Camp Hewlin, Texas. Jiminy Cricket, who I have to say was my mom's favorite Disney character, was for a Naval Reserve aviation base in Hutchinson, Kansas. You can see his Navy uniform there, if you know it. Now, Donald here was for the HMS Illustrious, and as HMS implies, yeah, this was part of the British Royal Navy. Pretty cool. And the HMS Illustrious was a carrier, and you can see that because he's standing on an aircraft carrier. It's interesting how, we talked about the light tone, and here you go. This is a chemical warfare unit, Company B of the 84th Chemical Battalion out of Arkansas. And it's just funny how they put kind of a light spin on what's pretty serious business. It's putting it incredibly mildly, of course. And finally we have this guy here. So you can see the credentials on the right for yourself on this one. I was able to get the whole thing in one shot. And it's just crazy, right? There's some racy World War II insignias that you can find. They weren't all G-rated, not at all. So then the most surprising thing with this pamphlet here is that pullout that I mentioned at the beginning. It goes in that direction, so you wouldn't expect that, but it's there. And in fact, I had to take selective pictures of it because I don't know what YouTube's policies are, and I didn't want to put drawings of fully naked women, so they had a surprise for the servicemen in here. And here it is. The title says it all. Pinups for servicemen from all Disney staff. So this kind of makes me think of old World War II movies, and you see the guy in his bunker, and there'd always be a, you know, a pinup, right? A pinup model, some kind of 1940s movie star type look. Well, here you go, but via Disney, from Walt Disney staff. So what a great little piece of animation. I shouldn't say animation, right? 'Cause it's not animated. But, you know, illustration curiosity from Disney's history. It gets far racier than this. This one here, she's the most modest of the group, so that's why I'm showing her. And I don't know if you noticed, but in this picture and the last one, they even drew thumbtacks. So like it's an actual pinup up on a wall. And coming up, you can see the really strong crease across the center. You see that? Because this was a folded up pinup, and that's how it was in the old days. But I remember when magazines always had that kind of thing. You have to break it apart at the staples, although I think this one wasn't actually stapled in there. And then you tack it up on your wall. There you go. It's a really interesting piece. It's kind of this nexus between pop art, World War II history, military history, Walt Disney, and if you didn't know anything about it, like I didn't, now you do. Thanks.